Hey y'all, it's Kellen. Welcome back to our channel and welcome to another video. If you're new here, I'm an artist and I happen to be obsessed with Halloween. We post all kinds of videos from DIY projects, product and prop reviews, and our makeover series where we take ordinary Halloween props, make them scary, and tell a story. So be sure to hit that like button and subscribe, that way you don't miss any future videos. Now for this week's makeover, we're going to be doing the I swear to God, the surge protector is driving me nuts. I got it.
There was totally something behind me.
Stop messing with me. This is like the 1,000th take. We just need to get this done, okay?
Yeah.
Seriously. For this week's makeover, we're going to be doing the Hauntress. Now, I don't remember.
It was just there. Turn the lights off. I swear you'll see it. You see it, right? I'm not nuts. What the hell is that?
I have no idea.
Hello. I don't think we need to waste any time before this makeover. Obviously, this week we'll be making over the Hauntress, and our concept is the Nun, obviously. There's really not much we need to go over with it. If you need references, you can go ahead and check out Conjuring 2. You can also check out the self-titled movie, The Nun, from the Conjuring series. A few things we're gonna be doing a little different this week. I am going to be using a pre-made costume from the Nun movie. I believe this is from Ruby's, and it says from the Conjuring universe and the Nun. Probably can't see that with the reflection. It comes with a well-sculpted mask and obviously a nun costume. A few reasons that I'm choosing to use the pre-made costume. One, we haven't done something like that before, and I feel like it's more accessible to you guys at home to be able to take a store-bought costume and then overlay it on top of one of these props. Second is going to be the weight factor. As much as I would love to sculpt over the top of this prop, it not only has one of those horrible hollow plastic heads with a rubber mask over the top of it, but weight is a massive concern with this prop given its movement and tipping to the side. Let's not waste any more time and get right into this makeover. Get this sucker open. Wow, this thing's got a lot of pieces to it. Gotta love these rubber masks we got going on here. Let's get her out into the scare studio and get working. I'm being very lazy, so let's just do one of these. Ah, much better. Oh, well. Yeah, I guess you guys would like to see the makeover, so I'll get going. Let's go. Right, first thing I need to do is I need to go through and start taking her apart. The hands were fairly easy, just snip the zip ties at the wrists and I pulled the hands off, set the arms to the side. This will make painting them a lot easier. The face was another story. I thought this would be super easy and that I would just be able to peel the mask off of the plastic head. I quickly realized that the plastic was so flimsy and the glue was so strong that it was actually ripping the plastic head apart. So I had to go through bit by bit, peeling the mask away and literally cutting this prop's face off with an X-Acto knife. This was a very time-consuming process. Now that I finally have the mask off, I just did a dry fit with the mask that came with the costume, and I need to remove that mouth. Cutting off the elastic first so it doesn't get caught in the Dremel, I'm just going to be using a Dremel with a simple router bit on the end. It made really quick work of the mouth. I definitely suggest if you're clumsy like myself, wearing a glove on the hand that you hold. This just adds a little bit of protection. Now, I know this looks super goofy right now. Trust me, it'll look better later. Those teeth were horrible. I'm just using some 180 grit sandpaper to clean up the inside edges of her mouth. And now I'm gonna move on to some eyeballs. I guess I could have made my own acrylic eyeballs. These are ones that I had. I simply taking a Dremel with the same router bit and just going around that iris. You can see there that I've actually been able to clear out all of the colored bit from the original iris. I'm gonna be going back in and painting it later. This was a bit tedious and time consuming because you didn't want to punch too far through, and I'm making sure to not carve out the pupil in the center. Now that I have both of the eyeballs cleaned out, I'm flipping them over and I'm gonna go go in and actually start painting. I did remove a bit of the outer side of the eyeball, the black outline, and I'm going back in with a very small brush and some black paint just to fill those in. Just a quick test fit, and now I'm going through with some Wildfire UV paint in yellow. I know this looks a little bit wonky on the camera right now. These will really glow that bright trademark yellow that we all have seen from the Valak character. Now I'm going to start making a lot of teeth. You'll see here I'm basically rolling out some little polymer clay snakes. I'm chopping it up into even pieces, and then I'm going back on a diagonal. This is just helping form that point, and then from there you just make a whole bunch of them. I'm using the old mouth for a size reference just to make sure I don't make them too thick, and I'm making various lengths and sizes. I wasn't sure what sort of teeth I was going for yet, if I wanted the long or the short ones. So I made both. Once I'm finished, I'm going to pop these guys in the oven for about 15 minutes, and I'm going to get started on the gums. I'm using some armature wire and actually wrapping it around the original teeth. That way I have the same shape as the mouth opening, plus some added stability. Then I'm going through with some brown polymer clay. I'm just wrapping it around each of the armature wires, and I'm starting to insert teeth. As I work, I'm being careful to make sure I test it inside of the mouth and it looks correct. I'm starting with the bottom section first. Once I have all the teeth inserted, I'm going to roll out another small little polymer clay snake, stick it just below the teeth, and that's going to help define the gums. I'm using a crochet needle just to go in between the teeth and make it look a bit more realistic. I'm going to repeat the steps for the upper gums and teeth. I'm just wrapping the armature wire in some polymer clay, and then I'm starting to insert the teeth. These ones I'm using varying lengths. I really want to go for that angry Valak demon mouth, and I just thought that looked a lot scarier. Once I have the teeth how I want them, I'm rolling out that little piece of polymer clay to go over the gums, and again using my crochet hook just to define them and press them in between each tooth. Once I'm finished and I like how they look, I'm just going to bake them for another 15 minutes and they will be ready to install. I have to say, I like these teeth. Now that they're all cooled, it's time to start assembling. I'm starting with the eyes, and I'm gluing them to the back side of the mask with hot glue. This section will be hot glue, more hot glue, and more hot glue, and lots of holding and burning myself, and more hot glue. So basically I attach the eyes and the teeth with lots of hot glue. Oh, and look, more hot glue. Lots of hot glue. Then I grabbed some clay foam, just use that to back the eyes. I'm hoping this will fill some of the gaps around the tear ducts and corners. Once I'm finished with that, it's time to tape the eyes off because we are getting ready to paint this lady. Yeah, woo, yeah. Just kidding, time for more hot glue. You thought it was actually time to do something fun. Just kidding. So I'm attaching the mask to the face with hot glue, and then I'm pressing in the sides of the mask to help give it a more elongated shape and not so square and boxy. This required a lot of holding, and guess what? A lot of hot glue. And now it's finally time to start doing some painting. I'm just using a black airbrush primer. It's really important if you're painting these props to consider using a primer. It's actually what helps make the airbrush paint stick and definitely gives your paint job some longevity. Now this part is pretty simple. I'm just basing each hand out in black paint. And moving on to the face, I'm going to do the same thing and apply a black base coat with the airbrush. I wish I could work this fast in real life. Jumping back over to the hands, I'm grabbing some gray airbrush paint and I'm starting to work in all of my highlights. I still want to use that black base coat as an underlying layer, so I don't want to cover it up completely, but I always start with the highlights of each hand and then continue building it up. Slowly building. Looking pretty good. It's now time for Valak to get a manicure. I'm just grabbing some black paint and painting her nails. I don't know why I always find this part sort of therapeutic, but I do enjoy it. I know Valak's nails weren't black, they just look creepier and sharper and better. I'm now going in to get all the detailed areas like in between her fingers and the creases of her hand. I'm just using a brush to heavily apply black paint to those areas and a wet paper towel to quickly wipe them off so they don't look so harsh. I do want them to be bold, but I don't want them to look dumb, I guess. And the last step is I'm just using my airbrush to apply a matte varnish over the entire hand. I do 2 coats of this and let them dry. Now I get to move on to the fun stuff, the face. I grabbed some white paint and I'm starting to work up my highlight areas of the face. Again, as with the hands, I don't want to completely eliminate the black. I still want her face to have some depth to it. I know the camera doesn't really show it because the white is really blowing out my lens. And now I've swapped over to a color called Bone. This is more of a yellow tone, and then I'm going to go back over that with white as well. This just gives it some depth and some dirtiness. I was really inspired by that original painting that Ed Warren's character paints in Conjuring 2. I wanted to have it mostly black and white, but bring in some of the blue vein elements from the Nun film. And if you're paying attention there, my airbrush decided to have a temper tantrum with blue paint all over this forehead. So I went back over it with some white just to dull it down and decided that I was going to paint in the veins with just a very small detail brush. I ended up liking this result better, but I hate when my airbrush throws a hissy fit. Before I jump into shading with my airbrush, I'm going to paint out the mouth. I'm using black at first just to detail in the gums. I will go back in later and add some pink or flesh to them, but I want the recesses and cracks to be black just like the original character. I'm also painting in some nostrils, getting all up there, picking that demon booger gold. Do demons even have boogers? And now moving on to an off-white color that I mixed for the teeth. I know I'm going to be applying fake blood over these later. I still want them to look white, and by painting them a lighter color, you'll make sure that they pop through that red permablood once it's applied later. If you paint them too dark and with too much detail, one, you won't see it, and two, you'll kind of lose all the cool sculpted teeth that you made. We want this chick to look scary. And a super quick second and third coat on these pearly whites, and we're ready to move on. On to my favorite part now, which is the shading. I've loaded my airbrush up with some black paint, and I'm starting around the mouth. I'm slowly feathering it out almost in a cracked fashion, and I am working with a reference photo that's sitting just off camera, just to make sure I'm following since this is an actual character. Of course, I'm taking some liberties, but I really want it to read Valak. Now I'm going around the eyeballs and using the same technique, slowly building up my shadows, especially around the eyes and around the mouth, her nose, all of the points where you really want to emphasize the features of the sculpt of the mask. I'm then going back over all of my veining with some black as well. I decided it was way too blue, and I thought layering over the black looked a lot better. I'm also blending in a bit around the teeth and then going back in with my detail brush again and painting in all of those fine cracks with the black paint. I really like how this is starting to turn out. A little different than the original Valak, but I love her. Now that she's starting to look extra creepy, I want to go back in before I put the blood in the mouth and paint in the gums. I just mixed up a fuchsia and a peach color, and I'm applying it lightly around the gums. I'm not getting too close to the teeth because I like that defined black line that separates the two, but Valak is very gummy. Time to take her cucumber tape eye mask off, and she's looking great. Just going to airbrush a little bit in the corners of her eyes just to blend out that craft foam that I put in there, and a few spots around the gums just so they're not so harsh. And now it's time for some permablood. This is rare for me. Usually I am one to fling blood all over a prop, but Valak is a classy broad and requires classy blood application. So we're applying it to her gums first and then slowly dragging it over her teeth, and I'm using my bare finger, because I'm a moron, to wipe the excess off. Yes, I have red fingers still. After looking at her face, I had a change of heart on the hands. I just thought they were too basic, so I'm going in with some white paint, lightening them up significantly, and then I wanted to add some really dark fingertips. I saw in the original character that was sort of the makeup job that they used, and I thought enhancing that would be super creepy. Now the hands better match the face, and I think there's definitely more attention to her claws. I definitely needed to repaint these. So if you haven't heard, The Conjuring 3 is coming out very soon. I'm really liking how these hands are, and now it's time to get her set up outside and costume ready. Ugh, I'm so ready to see her all set up. Let me know in the comment section below which movie or film from the Conjuring universe was your favorite. I'd be interested to know. And if you're watching me, I am trying to basically fit the arms on through these tiny sleeves. Yeah, not smart. I had to snip the zip ties off, feed the arms through like a normal person would, and then move on. From here on, it was pretty straightforward. I'm just putting the Nun costume out of the package and onto Valak. If you see how I'm working the belt, I'm using hot glue and of course burning myself in the process to glue the belt around the waist and give her some shape. If you're wondering why that second belt strap is there, it's because I blobbed some glue on her outfit and that's covering it. Sorry, not sorry. I'm securing her collar and headpiece with, you guessed it, hot glue. Go figure. Couldn't let you get away that easy without some more hot glue. And finally, a little wooden cross and chain that I made in my free time. I have to say, I really love how she turned out. I had an absolute blast doing this makeover, and thank you to whoever the one was who last year suggested that we turn the Hauntress into the Nun. Of all the props we've made, she really creeps me out the most, and I've kept a towel over her head ever since she's been completed. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, be sure to smack that like button right in the face. And hey, while you're at it, go ahead and click that red subscribe button next to it if you haven't already. That way you don't miss out on any future videos. We really appreciate all the support and all the love that you guys have shown us. And can you believe there's only 168 days left until Halloween? Oh, I'm getting excited. Well, without further ado, let's take a closer look at the new and improved Hauntress.